As well as DRS for compute, we have Storage DRS in the same way we have vMotion and Storage vMotion. Storage DRS uses Storage vMotion to move virtual machines' storage between different data stores in a set to balance either the capacity that is available in the data stores or performance. Configure a Storage DRS cluster. We go to data stores. We can see we now have two data stores in here, NFS DS1 and NFS DS2. And right click and say Storage, New Data Store Cluster. I'm going to call this SDRS. Turn on Storage DRS. And then we have an automation level. No partially automated. Here it's either fully automated or not automated. And then we can set automation level based on specific functions within Storage DRS. So space balance. So do we want to move storage for VMs to balance out the available storage in the data stores automatically or manually, or just follow the cluster setting? I/O balance, so based on the I/O rate of the current data stores. Rule enforcement, so again we can configure Storage DRS rules to control where these VMs are going to be stored. Policy enforcement automation level, we can set policies that say this particular VM should be stored on SSD or this should be stored on an archive tier. And then VM evacuation automation level. So when we put a data store into maintenance mode, do we want to automatically move VMs off that, or are we going to do that manually? So we're going to leave that all to fully automated. First of all, I/O metrics. So do we want to use I/O metrics as part of the SDRS recommendation, which is on by default, and the latency as well? So when the latency on one of those data stores goes above 15 milliseconds, we'll start to move virtual machines off it. Space threshold. So at what point do we want to start balancing the space? So if we've got tons and tons of free space on our data stores, we don't necessarily want to just moving things around for the sake of it. But when they start getting full, that's when we want to start balancing them so we don't inadvertently run one of them out of space. So by default, when we get to 80% utilized space on a given data store, we'll start thinking about rebalancing. Which clusters or hosts are we going to configure as part of this Storage DRS cluster? So we're just going to say our main HA cluster, and then which data stores. I'm going to select our two data stores and finish. So we now have those data stores in our SDRS cluster. Let's go and take a look at our virtual machines. It's moved the VMs that were in those data stores onto our SDRS cluster. We go to monitor. We can see any recommendations that it is making, any faults, and the history of any moves that have occurred. So again, I'm going to pop this data store here into maintenance mode, and immediately it's moving the VMs across to the other data store. Now, of course, it didn't do any automatic migrations to balance out the data stores because, as I say, it's configured to only do that when the data stores reach 80% capacity.